hold you.
I don't mind if you do. Will mentioned how we've gotten better each and every day. I mean, I think that's an accurate statement. Right? I think when you've got 9 new guys, you've got 8 freshmen, 2 of them are redshirt freshmen. I mean, that's something critical that we do get better each and every day. And I think that's something that is an old cliche, but very important in this basketball team. And I think they've worked extremely hard. We're not where we need to be on the defensive end. We're not where we need to be rebounding the ball. You know, I know a couple questions have come talking about our inside game, but we're not a very good rebounding team right now. We've got to get much better in that aspect. We're not a very good offensive rebounding team. We need to get much better on the defensive glass as well. But that'll come in time and hopefully sooner than later. But I do like this group. You know, there's been a lot of talk. There has been a lot of talk about our freshman point guards. With us not playing exhibition games and not being able to talk much about our recent scrimmage, they have valued the basketball better in recent practices than they did early. Those first several practices, we're on our 14th practice today, and in those first 3 or 4 practices, I'm just glad that we had those closed, because people would have had broken noses sitting up there about 3rd or 4th row, with those balls flying all over the place. But they're getting better. I like our guys' work ethic. We've got to continue to try to get better in a lot of areas in a quick way. We've gone at a much slower pace to this standpoint from a year ago. And I was thinking, with this being the 14th practice, and I mean, we haven't worked zone versus any zone defenses to this point. We haven't worked versus presses to this point. So just trying to get better in half-court defense and half-court offense at this point.
With your injuries, you had a little bit of injury, kind of bad luck last week. How's that going? And you know, everyone, Will says he's okay. You expect everyone to be ready for next Friday?
I hope so, Troy. Yeah. I mean, we're getting back. Yeah. Gus came back and worked out yesterday for the first time in probably 2 weeks. Yeah. He's got we were waiting to get a sleeve in for that shin, and they came in over the weekend, so he was able to practice yesterday. I think what we're going to try to do with him is go on a day, off a day for a while. Will was able to get back on. Will did not work out at all last week due to the sprained ankle, and came back yesterday. We're still without, we're going to be without Marik Eisen. Marik Eisen had surgery earlier today, so he'll be out for quite some time on that knee. But we're getting a handful of those guys back healthy, and we need them. That's one of the things, looking at our team this year, I feel like we've got more depth than we had a year ago, and we need to utilize it by keeping those guys healthy.
Marik's got a red shirt, right?
I don't know at this point. I mean, he's going to be out for a month or 2 for sure.
Given all that, and last time I was here, I asked you about your starting 5, and that was day 1, I think, and you said you had no idea. I mean, probably a little bit closer, but I guess just kind of how close are you to figuring out who's going to be out there next Friday, I guess?
Yeah, now we're trying to figure out who's in our top 8 more so than top 5 at this point. I mean, you try to develop a little bit of rotation. When you've got 9 new guys and there's 17 guys out there practicing, 15 of which could play this year, minus the other 2 that have to redshirt. You're still trying to work in a rotation at this point. We're getting closer to it, as you mentioned earlier. We're 9 days away from our opener, and we've got to speed up the process over these next 9 days.
Coach, you guys were picked 3rd in the West this year. Drastic improvement from last year where you were picked. Just what kind of motivation does that give you guys? Because you're not the top. You've still got Middle Tennessee and North Texas there. What kind of motivation is that for you guys to start the season?
Well, I mean, you can look back over our preseason picks for years. And I think, you know, it never seems to play out exactly that way. I mean, I don't remember where we were picked last year. Okay. But I think when you look at Middle Tennessee and North Texas, I picked both those guys to finish first on each division with what they've got back. I mean, Tony Mitchell back at North Texas, and everyone that Middle Tennessee has back there, great guard play. They value the ball, they defend. I think Arkansas State's going to be good this year. They've got good depth back. I think our league will be wide open. And I think, when you look at, I'm saying wide open with those 2 or 3 teams. And South Alabama's going to be good. I mean, they've got a number of guys back. But, I'm anxious to get started. I mean, we've got 11 games in the first 28 days. We play, when you look at November 9th to December 6th at Cincinnati, we've got a stretch of 11 games in a short amount of time. We've got to try to be good early.
There's a lot of talk about replacing DeAndre, but you're also replacing Courtney Jackson, who is always consistent, night in, night out. Talk a little bit about who you think is going to kind of fill that role.
Well, Gino, every year your team's journey takes a different. It's a different process along the way. I mean, you're never going to have the same type players from year to year. DeAndre Williams, the first team All-League guy for us a year ago, and his value of the basketball running the team. I mean, we're probably going to do that more by committee this year with those guys, with John and Josh. Then you've got a guy, Courtney, who really came on toward the end of last season, played with a lot of confidence as a versatile face-up 4-man who can play in the high post area. I think our 4s this year will be more low block and step into the three-point line. We've got more length at the 4 spot than we had last year. We've got guys that can shoot it from three-point line a little bit better than what we had last year. But we're going to miss those 2 guys. DeAndre and Courtney were very, very good leaders. We're a little bit different this year as a team when you think about having 8 freshmen, 4 sophomores, 2 juniors, and then Teddy Crass is our only senior. So we don't have the kind of senior leadership that we had last year. And that's where these younger guys are going to have to pick up the pace. And that's what I've tried to challenge Will, Taggart, and Ben. Our veteran guys that we talk about, those are guys that have 1 year under their belt, and not guys that are juniors or seniors. And I think we found that out in our first scrimmaging a team that had 4 seniors and 5 juniors and very, very good experience.
With the 2 point guards, do you see kind of one kind of exceeding what the other one is doing, or do you expect that or want that, or do you kind of expect both of them to play pretty much the whole year?
Troy, they're both making progress.
Yeah.
They're both valuing the basketball better each and every day. And we talk to those guys all the time about hitting singles and doubles. We're not trying to hit home runs and grand slams. And, that's the normal progression for a high school guy coming in. And, we all watch ESPN, and you see the highlight plays on ESPN, guys threading the needle with a bounce pass down the floor and all the splash plays. But we want solid, consistent play from those guys, and they're getting better at it.
What does each of them kind of do well, and what does each of them kind of need to work on?
John is very fast with the basketball. He can get from point A to point B, applies great pressure to teams defensively. I'm saying from our offensive standpoint, still needs to get better defensively. We need that same energy at that end of the floor that we're getting at the other end, and that's typical of high school guys as well. Josh is a steady point guard who can shoot it from three-point line. Both those guys can shoot it from three-point line. Josh is a little bit bigger, a little bit longer than John, but they're both going to be good players here for us.
And you mentioned the turnovers. You said they're doing a little bit better in that area, but I mean, still, as first-year players who are probably 18 years old, those are probably going to happen even into January, February, right?
That's right. And I shared with our guys a week, 10 days ago, after prior 6th or 7th practice, talking about turnovers, and went back to those 4 games in Hot Springs in 2011, where we had DeAndre as a junior point guard, Solomon Bozeman as a senior guard on that year's team, Alex Garcia Mendoza, Matt Mosey. Those guys were very experienced guards. And during that 4-game stretch, we averaged 9.5 turnovers during that stretch. And that was a big part of us winning those 4 games. And I don't expect us to average 9.5 turnovers with this team, but I think it's important that we keep it in a reasonable area.
Coach, 4 of your first 7 ball games are on the road. I mean, it'll be a challenge for your team to start the season.
It will, and that'll test our guys. As I mentioned, our team each and every year when we first meet as a team in July, we talk about every team's ultimate success will be determined by how they handle adversity. We want to put our guys in adverse situations and see how we handle them. That's what you try to do in practice each and every day. And that's where we've got to continue to grow. We're a very young team. We're a very immature team right now. And we'll find out a lot about our team in the next month.
With that being said, though, I mean, your non-conference schedule is, they're all winnable. You don't have a Michigan State on there or anybody like that. But I think it's...
But Cincinnati.
Well, Cincinnati's good, yes. But
Ole Miss is pretty good.
I'm saying, though, but it's winnable to the fact that I think that helps your strength of schedule as well as challenges your team throughout the non-conference.
I agree. And that's what you want to do. As we all know, and we've talked a lot about this, it's difficult to get home games at our level when you're not buying a lot of games. And, you know, we tried to do that with home and home series. We've got Tulsa coming back in here, finishing up a 4-year series on December 15th. We'll play home and home with La Tech. We've got a number of good games. We're in a tournament where we'll get 2 home games against UW-Milwaukee and Jacksonville, and then we'll play SMU down in Puerto Vallarta, and then play the winner or loser at Missouri State and South Carolina. So, I mean, we've got a good schedule, and I'm just hoping that we'll get some people out early, and you know, we start with Meet the Trojans tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, and hope to have a nice crowd out here, and hopefully we'll have a good crowd next Friday night against Tennessee Martin.
Can you talk a little bit about the progression of Stetson?
Stetson's a very unassuming guy. I mean, doesn't talk a lot. I love his work ethic. He works extremely hard on the defensive end, gets his hands on a lot of balls, just goes about his business. And he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. I'll be honest, I didn't expect him to play with the kind of confidence at this point, this early in his career that he's playing with. He's been hampered with injuries as well. He had a pretty bad sprained ankle the first practice on whatever Friday that was. He was out about a week, but has come back since and playing pretty well.
What about James White? You know, he redshirted for you guys last year. Where's he going to kind of fit in with all those other
He's much stronger, put on a lot of weight, had a great year with John Barron. He's shooting the ball better than he did coming in. And you know, that's the thing when you talk about all these guys with a year under their belt. And that's why I'm so excited about this team in the next couple of years, because you think about where Mike Chavez is right now from a year ago. I mean, Mike's right at 242 when we started. He's dropped down a little bit since practice. He was 213 a year ago. And when you think about a guy like Chavez guarding guys 260 and 270 and 213, and the disadvantage he's at, but he's got a year under his belt, started 23 games. You know, we'll be talking about James White the same way next year. Much stronger, much more physical, very athletic, and can get up and down the floor. I'm excited about this group. I think we've got a chance to be a good team in time. And I don't know what time is exactly. I don't know if that's December, if that's January, if it's a year from now. But I do like their work ethic. I like their togetherness. That's what we're continuing to harp on.
Sorry. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks for being here, guys.